Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the Weekend Wellness Hour show. I am very excited to have a relatively new friend, Viorica Vanica, who is joining us today. I met her through another friend of mine, Arjun, who is big into the tech world, and he wanted me to meet Vio because she has a really interesting background as a holistic therapist who is immersed in the tech world and created and co-founded something called selftalk.space. And she also holds workshops. She does one-on-one coaching with various founders. She has a slew of talent. So I really want to welcome Vio. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here. Oh my God, this is exciting.
Yeah, that was wonderful. So I always like to start a little bit with how did you get into this world? Because you're kind of a mixture of health, wellness, mental health, and tech all together. So please share with us a little bit about your background.
Well, I love the question.
Mhm,
It's a combination with all of them because of my background. I
mhm,
used to do all of them. So
mhm,
the tech part is I was fascinated about the startup world and how dynamic it is, the environment, and that you can apply things like really fast and execute fast and see if it works or not. But at the same time, the therapy side of it, that's like a passion of mine, which started with my own journey of personal development and my self-discovery. So that's something natural that I used to have when interacting with people. And I just decided to, okay, if I like it so much, that's one activity that I will do for my entire life. And I combine these two, and that's where I am right now, a combination of therapy and tech part.
That's wonderful. So sometimes people go into kind of therapy or health because of wanting to help heal themselves. Was that kind of a motivation for you as well?
Oh yeah. It started in oh my God, I would say in 2013 when I left Moldova, because I'm
Mhm.
originally from Moldova, and
Sweet.
I went for the college, and from there I just the first time that I left home and I lived in different countries, I was not aware of things that I was running from, and I will be like moving from one country to another until I
Mhm.
would discover that I was just running from myself. And the first, I would say the second most important event that like started all this journey was in 2018. Like when after I would say a breakup, I
Mhm.
questioned myself why things happen in my life the way they happen. And then from there, it all started. Like
Yeah.
reading the books, getting involved, enrolling at the university of therapy, then writing the book, then interviewing coaches and also therapists to understand, and then all this journey. And I'm so grateful for it. It's been amazing journey.
Yeah. That's great. And I know you describe yourself in your training as holistic therapist. Can you describe a little bit of what that means? How is a holistic therapist different from, say, a psychotherapist or maybe a counselor?
Well, it treats a person from the holistic point. Is like
Mhm,
it's you look at the person not from a perspective of a whole. So the person has the parts which is social, personal, professional, and you look at someone when you work with that person from all these parts of the air of the life. Is like all of
mhm,
them combined into one person. So we
mhm.
work on different areas of life.
Okay, so I imagine that includes lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
Um, and our topic of today's self-talk. So I know it includes that. Can we dive into that a little bit? Like, what do you mean by self-talk? Why is it important? Let's go into that.
Oh, I will give you a story here. So I
Sure.
have my co-founder, which
Mhm,
she went to this Vipassana meditation retreat where for 10 days you don't really talk. You don't have, I mean, you have electricity, but you don't have the phone or laptop or anything. You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to do anything. You just meditate. And she
mhm,
came after those 10 days and she's like, Vio, this is crazy. This voice in my head was not stopping. and it was continuously criticizing myself. And I'm like, yeah, it's normal, right? And then we started to dig deeper into this, and we went to look for all the researches on the market about self-talk. And when we discovered that the self-talk, it's actually a really huge thing, but it was measured only in sport performances. So the idea on how people talk to themselves was measured in sport, where the Olympic athletes, when they need to generate performance at that level, they have all these coaches training them into being able to focus on the target and the goal that they have. So because at that level of performance, everything counts, like everything. So we were like, why is it not, I mean, if it's so widely spread and it's so easy to measure in sport performance, why is it not available to anyone? And then that was the first point. And then we went to dig even more into this, because that's one of the things that I also experienced, that I tried to change behaviors in my life, and then at some point just falling apart again. And I was questioning myself, why is this new behavior doesn't go through? And then that led me to another teacher of mine, which he helped me understand that the roots of all our behaviors, and if we want to change them, starts with the thoughts that we have about ourselves, which have been repeated for so many years, which become at some point beliefs that we have about ourselves. So just think of it, when someone, let's say it's a New Year resolution, and you subscribe to a gym, and then you go for 1 month and then you don't go anymore. There's the same thing. It's something that is a behavior that people try to change, but they don't question that those behaviors on quitting or something that they want to change in their life starts with a thought that actually influences their emotions and then influences their behavior.
Yeah. So they're all interconnected, and you can't separate them. So if you want to have a different life, you have to talk to yourself differently, right?
Yeah, that's one thing. But the other thing is that in our when we are kids, there are a lot of events that happen in our life where usually the ones which are very charged emotionally, like negative emotions charged to those events, we usually believe something about ourselves. And I'm talking about the part of the brain which is responsible for the emotional responses, which is the limbic brain. And that moment when we believe something about ourselves, we adopt a behavior that covers it. So that's like a coping mechanism to cover our conversations, which are inner conversations. So, and then it goes like in a loop. And then in life, we attract context and events that will just confirm the belief that we had initially about ourselves. So it goes deeper than this. It's not only just talking yourself into something, it's realizing when this conversation, inner conversation, was created in your head, and how is it that you are perpetuating it in your life. And then after the awareness comes, then you can do consciously a new kind of thoughts. And that requires repetition, because the same belief before that you wanted to change also was created and ingrained in your brain because of the repetition.
That's interesting. And so when someone's looking at how they talk to themselves, is it imperative that they do some counseling or some kind of soul search to find out that initial conversation that led them to think, okay, I'm not smart enough to accomplish this, or I'm not strong enough to accomplish this? Is it something that we do need to do some work on our childhood experiences?
Yes, ideally, yes. Because like how right now we go to therapy, right? And we have therapists that help us to realize insights and how things were created. The problem is that therapy, that it's sort of a business as well. So they want you to keep coming to them, right? So, or at least you have like a period of time that you work with a therapist, and then you stop. And then after another period of time, you also get back to the therapy. The idea for us is to the solution of self-talk that we provide, it's complementary to that. So we were thinking, why do I need 10 years to realize what happened in my childhood, how that influenced me, if I can do it faster? Like I want to live my life. I want to live it the way I want it. And it's not like I'm not living it, but I want to be the authority in my own life. So it's not like my mind is managing me. I'm the one who controls the mind, and I use the mind in my favor. So the point is, yes, the answer to your question, yes, you need some counseling, I would say, to realize. We were thinking with Elena, my co-founder, about creating this structure for people to have these insights before, and then after realizing where they come from, and then to deliver the self-talk, which is to ingrain the new pattern in the neural brain, like to create a new path.
Yeah. And is it as simple as, okay, let's say I don't feel like I'm smart enough. Is it as simple as saying I'm smart enough? Like, or are there steps to this process of learning to talk differently to yourself?
It's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this this is not a positive affirmation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
first, if I would do something like with you, then we
Mhm.
will discover where the belief came from,
Okay.
and then you have to go through that emotional. So the idea is, if I work with you, that will be for you to connect with the emotion that you feel when you're not enough, in what specific context, because
Okay.
you can feel it in relationship, you can feel it in career, you can feel it in any different areas of your life, and they're linked to different events in your life and different people which created, like, which you had those events with.
Yeah.
So the idea is to figure that out, and then for
Okay.
you to understand what was good about it, because as I said, our brain believes something about ourselves, and then we adopt a behavior to cover that conversation. But
Right.
in that behavior, we develop sort of qualities of traits that we are after that repeating in our life, and it comes so easy. Like,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. For me,
Sure.
it's connection. I love to connect with people very easily, and sometimes I have a lot of moments when people come to tell me secrets about their lives, and I don't really understand why. I didn't know that, like, before. I was not aware of, like, why would they come and tell me, like, what's it's written something on my face that you can tell me things or something. But it took me a while to realize when this character of trait that I have was created, and in what, and usually they happen in events which are negatively, like there is a negative emotion there. And once you see the good side of it, then you can practice the same character of trait in your life, but consciously. So now I know that I can open a space with someone to go and talk, but my intention is pure, and my intention is just to connect. It's not, I'm doing it consciously. The whole idea is for you to become aware and conscious about the change, because when you do it consciously, then it's powerful.
Gotcha. And so you can do this around self-talk then. So you can change the way you talk to yourself by being consciously aware of the impact you're having on yourself by what you're saying.
Yeah, like I will give you an example on how we do it with people
Yeah.
in self-talk. So you, if I will create one for you, you will need to pick an area of your life where you are aware that you have inner conversations, negative ones about yourself,
Okay.
and then give specific examples of thoughts, and then what kind of emotions you feel when you have those thoughts about yourself. Where do you feel them in your body, because that's also important. And then what kind of emotions you want to feel instead. And based on that, we figured out an algorithm which helps me to see behind those thoughts what you need.
Got it.
because
Okay.
because behind, like, our thoughts and our needs, they usually go into three main buckets. One is I'm not enough, second I don't belong, and third is something is not available to me. And we all have all three of them, but in different proportions and different areas of our life. So it's very specific to each individual and their own thoughts in that area.
Okay. And so with those three areas, we can work on our self-talk to help us kind of overcome what we see as a deficit in those areas.
Yeah, like for example, if you feel, I will give you an example of a team of so there is this team of 10 people which we are working right now, and they're the owner of the company came and said like, my employees, they come to me and tell me like their personal problems in their lives, and he wanted me to help him with their mental, I would say, their self-regulation abilities. So the idea is that I did the same structure, like the same thing that I just described with each of them. And then it doesn't really matter what age you have, because they're like 50, around 50. I see the same thing with the ones which are younger as well. Is the idea is that it influences everything. The way you perceive yourself influences your personal, your professional life, the way you interact with people, the way you communicate, everything. And it doesn't matter the age at all. The feeling and the emotion is the same.
And it's apparent. You can tell when someone exudes a certain type of energy, or maybe they're not feeling so great about themselves. They have a different energy. You can tell it.
That's true. Like, and to answer the question, so there was this lady, she's around 54, and she's divorced, and the thoughts that she had, she's like, I'm getting old, I'm getting fat, and nobody's gonna be with me. And imagine how this influences her. Like, this influences a lot the way she perceives herself in personal life, but also influences a lot how she's at work. So at work, she's constantly waiting for validation. So there is a direct link between how we deal with our personal life with our our profession as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a question related to this. May be an easy topic for some people who are in the personal development world, but for those who have never dove into personal development, who aren't used to thinking about the thoughts and actions, how do you convince people that self-talk is actually important for your life? And I say that because 25 years ago, I was a teenager, and if you had told me that how I spoke to myself actually made a difference, I would have thought it was a bunch of quack. Like, I literally would not have even given you the time of day. And I would have thought, oh, that's just a bunch of woo-woo. Obviously, I don't think that anymore. But, there are times where we meet people who aren't used to the personal development world. And how do you reach them and say, yeah, self-talk does make a difference?
For some people, they don't really get to understand it. And I will tell you why. There is this, usually there should be something happening in our life, like really painful, someone to die, or someone to, like, really painful for us to wake up, or to understand that there is more than what we are used with. And my approach right now is not to go to educate someone who is not even aware of it, because I know that this is going to be in time, and every person has his own process to understand how important it is. My approach right now with also the company is to go to people which at least started to question it, because once they started to question, and then we can work through it, they're the ones who can be the evangelist of this. We're the ones who is going to spread it to other people. And it's like the effort that to get to the same result, which was, our goal is to reach 1 billion of people by 2030. And I'm thinking, if that's my goal, how can I reach those people with the less effort? For me to go and convince someone who doesn't really understand it, It takes too much, it takes me too much effort to dedicate, and I'm not even sure that that person will understand it. So I'll give you an example of analogy. We went this last week to this tech week in LA, and for the first time in a while we were at the dinner, I felt that I am not the smartest in the room. And it felt so weird. It felt so uncomfortable. It felt so, I don't know, it triggered me a lot. And I went after that and just digged into it and understood what was happening there. And the first thing that came out of my mind is that I took out of the conversation by sitting at the table only information that I needed at that moment. So out of everything that people spoke there, they shared ideas. I just took what I needed, like to take me to the next level. And it got to me. Like whenever I go and try to help someone and make them aware of how self-talk is important, they will take out of the conversation only the information that will take them to the next level. That's it. I can do so much. I can, I don't know, try to do as much as I can, but if the person is ready, the person will take it. If not, then we'll take just the small tiny bit of information that will take them to the next level. And it came with a pain right now that I recognize it, but I'm so grateful for it because it made me understand that whenever I go and try, like I used to be very disappointed in myself, that it would be like, I tried, I wanted, like I tried, and people will tell me that you can't force it, they can't force it. And that's true. I saw this other side of the coin by being in it.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, it's very stimulating in life to go and be in crowds of people where you're not the smartest person in the world and that you know very little. And I've done that a lot in the past 3 years. It is extremely uncomfortable, like you were talking about, but the growth that you get from those experiences is amazing, and I would never give it up. Like I continue to do that and say, okay, how can I do this? But with the caveat is I'm not allowed to bash myself when I'm in these circles, and I have to be very aware of my self-talk to make sure it doesn't go down into a negative spiral just because I'm in a group where I have absolutely no knowledge of the specialties that these people are talking about. So.
I'll give you another example. I went to this conference in San Diego, and we were at this mansion because it was like 3-day workshop. And I set an intention before going there that I will connect with people, that I will talk to them, and like that was my intention, just networking. So I got there, and it was like a second floor house, and I was on the second floor looking. The stage was downstairs, and everyone was like in everyone was sitting anywhere, like on the stairs anywhere. So I sit like from the top and look at all these people. Everyone was laughing, everyone was and in my head what I was telling myself was like, these people are fake. What am I doing here? And imagine that was the intention, to connect. I go there, that's it, that's my perception over the situation that was happening. What's happening, the emotion that I felt was, I'm not gonna talk. So I seated there for a half of a day without saying a word, and I wanted to say a word, and a behavior, so they thought it was that I was criticizing them, that they are fake. The emotion was that I don't belong here, I don't, that's not my place here. And the behavior is that I just sit there isolated myself for half of a day. What can I do? So first, it's like I'm aware of the things that happen. It's not like once you are aware, you don't face them anymore. It's just you become present, and the time that you process it, it's shorter and shorter and shorter. So I have the option, like I was sitting with myself and in my head, like I have the option to stay here and just look at these people and then criticize myself that I wasted my time, or just do whatever I came for. And I chose. So the choice comes when you become aware. If
Yeah.
you are not aware, then the choice, you don't really understand that you have a choice. And for me, the
Yeah.
choice was to go and connect with those people one-on-one, and that's what I did. And once I started to do it, like I could feel the whole energy inside of me, like I was getting energized just because I was doing what I came for.
Hmm. Yeah.
I just
And yeah, everything shifted for you as well. Your perception, you connected, always helps. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
but the choice is, as I understand, to be able to have a choice is to actually become present to what's happening and understand that you are the source of it.
Right. Right. And I can see that's a critical point to having a different experience.
Yeah, because if they were fake around me, who am I?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So, really important. That's a great example. So, when you're looking at self talk, and you've given us several examples now, I know we originally talked about athletes and Olympic athletes and how they use it in their performance. They have a lot of mental coaches, they have physical coaches, they have, nutritionists. So, what is it that these elite athletes and these professional athletes are saying that is different than, you and me and other people who work at a job?
I wanted to actually make it available to everyone. When we
Yeah.
started this, we planned to have like templates of
Mhm.
performance athletes to show it to the world, like what they tell themselves, because
Yeah.
everyone is, they have, each of them, they have their own self-talk. It's based
Mhm.
on your own beliefs, it's based on your environment, it's based on your like where you grew up and all these elements. So everyone has his own type of
Mhm.
self-talk. And I will give you an example of Serena Williams, where she, I don't
Yeah.
know if you watched the movie of her, like it's a biography movie, King
King
Richard or something.
Richard?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah,
Great movie.
great movie. But have you, like, the way their father taught them when they were born,
Mhm.
they weren't even born. He had a plan for them. So they were born in an intention, for like his intention, that they will be
Mhm.
champions. You
Yeah.
understand? So
Mhm.
it's like he he was the best self-talk coach, or the one who was actually shaping their self, how they perceive themselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's like deeply rooted to um the environment that we get in, like how much love we get, how much how present our parents are
Yeah.
in our childhood. It links to many things. And I will make sure that these templates are going to be public from
Good.
from all the sport athletes to show it to the world. And
Yeah.
what is it that they tell? That's going to be like a really nice partnership, I would say.
Yeah, because, unless you're an elite athlete, you don't have exposure or knowledge to how they're trained. They get access to different types of mental health professionals that help them cultivate their mind so that their mind doesn't hold them back. I used to play tennis very competitively. And I remember when I did, like your mind was so critical. I could play a match. And if my mind wasn't in the right space, that match is going downhill. And I became better at learning to pull myself up and realizing I had to clear my mind. But I didn't have any formal training, nothing like an Olympic athlete that knows, what to say because they've been coached in, they've been, had exposure to people who know how to help them through that. So,
You know, like it's a, I love what you just started. um
mhm,
we the idea is, for me, how I see it is that it applies, everyone has his own way of getting to the goal, right?
mhm,
I'm trying to do right now with Elena a structure on how we get out of our inner conversations, because they're going to be there all the time. They are good. Like inner conversations helped us survive, helped us get into the place where we are right now. But what
mhm,
we do about them, that's the different story. So we started to have like this talks together, and every single day about what we've experienced and what kind of a conversation we had like during that day, where like something that we emotionally feel at that moment and how we get
Yeah.
out of this. So I'll just give you a structure of how we apply it.
Sure.
First is to recognize what kind of event, what kind of moment or event triggered it. Like she saw it yesterday. We did it yesterday. So she saw like a story on Instagram of a girl in her village where she was born, that she got married and she was so famous, and everything is so happy. She's got family and everything. And she was working, and I see that her face is different than she usually is. And I'm like, what's happening with you? And she's like, no, I'm fine. Everything is good. Like, okay, I will leave her. I knew, I felt it. It's like, okay, I will leave you alone a little bit. And then until a moment when, okay, let's talk about it. And she's like, yeah, I saw her there. And okay, so the idea is to figure out one event where the moment that something triggered you, to recognize it first. For her was this with the girl that she saw on Instagram. Then second is to determine what kind of emotions it triggered in you. What do you feel? What negative, because it's a negative emotion. What negative emotion do you feel? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is it, there is like 87 or even more than that emotions that we have. That's another thing that I would just put it on the side. People don't really know to label their emotions. They say happy, sad, guilt, that's it, the resentment, and
Done.
don't really understand that there's so many emotions. And once you are able to actually label your emotions, is like a huge thing, but that's a different side. So the second is to determine what emotion you feel. And then how the third is for you, like I would say, to treat it like on demand when things happen, is how do you want to feel instead? Because if you feel that negative emotion, that means that while you feel that negative emotions, the positive one, you can't feel it. It's something that you forbid yourself to feel because you are in a negative one. And the negative emotions usually start with they've been triggered by something that reminds you of something in the past. So it goes back to an event. So the idea is to figure out when was the first time that you felt that emotion.
Got it.
And
makes
then
sense.
and then you discover the event, and you know that it's an event by the number of details, like how many details you remember about that event. And our mind is so amazing. It pulls out of all the information that is stored here, it pulls out that specific event. Or if it doesn't pull, it covers it up, then you go and dig into the emotions, like how do you feel? Where do you feel them? When was the first time you felt it? And then what emotions you want to feel instead, and what will be the action. So the idea is to get to the action that will help you to produce that emotion inside of yourself.
That makes sense.
That's one structure that we apply.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit more about selftalk.space? So you give people, so you work with people to provide them with a self-talk meditation. Is that correct?
Yes,
Did I describe it right?
that's correct.
Okay. Can you describe it more?
Yeah. So the idea started in I would say it started in October, but we actually started to work on it in February. And we were doing it manually with people, like each individual, we will treat them individually. And right now we are also doing it, but we are doing for the companies. So the idea is the same structure. We go back to the thoughts. So if the company comes to us and says, like, or a leader of a team, or you have let's say your sales team, or you have leaders team, or you just want to do it as a leader for yourself, because we needed like to pick niches, and that will be like one of the niches that we picked so far. And I'm going to tell you the story. So if you come and say, like, I want let's say that you have your sales team, and I want my sales team to produce more revenue. Can you help me to do that? And I'm like, okay, of course I can. And let me understand first what kind of thoughts people have when they go and try to sell your product, because it comes back to the thought, like it comes back on how you perceive yourself, how you perceive the product that you're trying to sell. Is it a criticize that you're doing towards the client? So the idea is that we go through each of the team member, sales team member, in this case for the sales team, right? And then we do the same structure. We apply the same structure: thought, emotion, what emotions you want to feel instead. And then we dig out and see what kind of common beliefs they have. And then we go to see that into the leader as well. So we apply the same structure for the leader. So we see how the leader and his ways of seeing and perceiving the world and himself and the product influences the team, because they attract each other and they mirror each other. And then we create this personalized self-talk meditations, audios, which we deliver them in a meditation style towards the goal, which it's, I don't know, sales in this case. Or it can be well-being, or it can be just self-regulation, where it can be becoming aware of the emotions, and different ways of getting. The idea is the same. We apply the same structure, but for different case uses, I would say.
Okay, and so if it's for a company and you're looking at both the employees and then the employer, and you're working together, is it one meditation that's given to the group
No,
that incorporates, so each person gets their own? But for the common goal of bringing the team together for a purpose.
For the common goal, which one is by getting the soft skill, actually. The goal is for them to have more revenue, but if we go and dig deeper, that's for the sales case, right? If you go and dig deeper, it's actually goes back to their soft skills. So it's also personalized on their thoughts. So it's towards the goal, but it's not the goal. The goal is just in mind. We go into depth with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. And when someone gets one of these meditations, how often do they listen to it? How do they use it?
Yeah, I'm thinking right now this, and it's so I get so emotional when we work on this on the scripts for each person, because I get to connect with their thoughts and their emotions, and it's just, I don't know, sometimes I even cry when I work on them.
Good.
And I stop, I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, they want so much love, let me give them so much love. Okay, the idea is that people have to listen to it at least once per day, for 21 days. But from our experience, they usually end up listening it more than once a day. Because the first time that they hear it, it's very impactful for them, because we also, apart from all that I said that we are using in the audios, we ask them to record their first name. So their first name is in the meditation. So it feels like when they listen to it, it feels like there is someone talking to you. And the people feel that they are seen. So the first reaction that they get is that they cry. And I'm not like saying that just to say it, but I have a feeling that for the first time, in a long time, they see that they're seen, through the depth of their emotions. And then there are other parts of it that happen. I don't know, there was this team, they started to wake up earlier to listen to it, or they just listen to it whenever they had a panic attack or something like that. Or we recommend people to listen at least once a day for 21 days.
That's amazing. Truly, it's absolutely wonderful that you can do this and create something that's personal to someone to help them shift and transform. So if people want to work with you, which I imagine they will, so they go to selftalk.space, is that correct?
Yes, exactly. That's the company name. Or if they want to just DM me directly or send an email to vio@selftalk.space.
Okay, and that's VIO@selftalk.space.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. And so I highly recommend people reach out to you. And when they do, and they work with you to create this self-talk meditation. How long is the process? Is it a week, a couple weeks? How long's the process?
The process of creating it is 3 days.
Oh, that's very quick. Okay, wonderful.
Right
So,
now it's 3 days, but we
Mhm.
are working on the app, so the goal is to be on demand. So for them
Okay.
just to come and type it down and
Mhm.
then get it on demand. So that's the goal. Right now I'm
Okay.
like, okay, it's 3 days.
It's okay. It's still pretty quick to get something personalized. So don't be ashamed about that. That's amazing. That's
Well,
wonderful.
that's a process. It's the MVP. What can I say?
Exactly, exactly. So, is there anything else you'd like to share that we didn't cover about this whole process?
Um, I think we
Mhm.
covered quite a lot, and
Yeah,
I wanted to thank you
yeah,
for your curiosity and also for openness to spread this to your audience and to people that you are connected with,
yeah,
because I think this it's so simple to understand. I mean, it's not simple to understand, but once you understand it, it's so simple to apply.
mhm,
And if I get at least to make people question this for themselves, I
yeah,
think my goal is reached.
yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. I know when we met a couple weeks ago, I was very excited because you have a heart of gold, and I can tell that you're really passionate about this, and it means a lot to you. So that's one of the reasons I like to connect with people, because it's nice. I mean, you're doing something to help people perform at a level that they want.
Yeah.
And there's not one solution out there for everyone. So the more that we get knowledge and awareness of approaches like yours that's personalized as well, the better it is for everyone. So I thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was a blast. I loved it so much. I was like a bit down before this, but now I'm like, whew, let's do it. What do you want?
Exactly.
Rock the world. Okay, let's do it.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And so thank you all for joining us today. We will see you next week. Have a great rest of your weekend. Take care and bye now.
Thank you.